What's up, beautiful people? Or I should say, what's up, my little angels? Welcome back to Zhan's online podcast, The Way I See It. I'm your lovely host, John-Vee-Aye, and this is Bedtime Talks with Zhan. This week, we're going to be talking about idolizing relationships, specifically idolizing marriage, because for a lot of us, that is the end goal. And this is something that I struggle with a lot, and I probably have struggled with this with like my whole entire life. So this podcast is going to be like really easy, but hopefully I don't get too off topic. But before we get into it, let's do a little weekly recap for Miss Zhanvie, okay? Thank God, but literally by the grace of God, I feel a lot better right now. I have a lot more energy. I am a little nasally, so sorry if I'm like breathing hard in the mic or, getting over the flu. So the last episode, if you haven't listened to it, I highly encourage you to go listen to episode 3. I just started getting a cold as I was recording. I felt a little bit better this week. I went to the gym, was doing my everyday life things. I was recording, I was doing Vlogmas. And one day, and you'll see in my Vlogmas episode that I will post probably after this video, that your girl got the flu, okay? I was in here dang near like having fever, shaking, shivering, all of the things. I was going through it. I had to go to the clinic so they can give me some medicine. Praise God for medicine. And I feel a lot better. I don't have as much energy as I usually have, but we're working it up little by little. And I was asleep for like in and out all day today, and I have a little bit of energy, so I'm going to take advantage of it. Shout out. I don't even know if all of my like friends from college even watch my podcast, but shouts out to my homeboy. You know who you are. Basically, I made a post. I even made a post here on YouTube that I may not drop, no more new episodes of either my podcast or even Vlogmas until this weekend because I was so sick and I wanted to get ahead of the game. I didn't just want to leave people hanging thinking that I just gave up and I stopped. And everyone was saying, get well soon, take your time. I know you have goals, but you just need to like be patient with yourself and stuff like that. But the only person that was like, nah, bump that, forget all that. I don't care about no little flu, a little weak little flu. No, you need to get at it. So I was like, dang, you low-key sound like me. Like that's something that's literally what I was talking about in one of my TikToks last week when I had the cold. Now, maybe I kind of bit off a little more than I could chew, and I was talking too much yap because I was still sick, but I was still grinding through it. But a cold and a flu are two different things. Shouts out to him for giving me those words of encouragement in a blunt matter, because sometimes we need that. And I was like, you know what, you're right. So I felt a little bit better yesterday. I got a little bit of editing done, but something is better than nothing. And today, even though all day I was like passing in and out from the medicine and from like, the flu symptoms, I'm still able to record right now, and it's like 11 o'clock p.m. So we're still on schedule. We're going to make sure we're still on schedule. But yeah, so that was just the main thing about this week. I'm not going to go too far into all of that. We're going to get right into the nitty gritty because I don't want to waste so much. I don't want to waste the energy that I have right now. So we're going to pour it all into the good stuff of this episode. So like I said, we're going to be talking about idolizing marriage, idolizing relationships. And if you don't know what idolizing something is, right, almost worshiping something, putting so much thought and care into something. And as believers, sometimes we put relationships and marriage before God. Not in a good way. Like we put that, some of us get closer to God just so we can have that relationship. Or some of us get closer to God so we can seem like we're a Proverbs 31 woman so we can get our husband. And today we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I do have some opinions. I do have, a little the way I see it about some of those topics that I don't necessarily agree with. But hey, before I try to clock anyone's tea, let me tell you a little bit about me. Okay, so I'm 22 years old, and my whole entire life, marriage was the thing. I remember from the earliest of ages of when I've had a Barbie doll, having weddings, typical things that a lot of young girls do, or young, people in general, based off of what you see or even what we see on TV or things that we want. And as a girl, you see the big dress, you're getting married, the white dress, all of these things. And that's the earliest age, like maybe 6, 5, that I can remember of me wanting to be married, or just knew that getting married was something so great, something so profound. As I've gotten older through grade school, not feeling loved either at home within myself or at school, getting bullied at home, at school, bullying myself because of low self-esteem. And, in order to get married, you need a boo thing, right? And someone who grew up not being quote unquote ideal in society's eyes, that was really hard for me. So that's not the reason why I started looking for love in the wrong places. I started looking for love in the wrong places because the lack thereof, or the lack of understanding of love at the very least. So not only was I looking for love, I also was looking for comfort, right? Grade school and high school, I was not found as the ideal woman or the ideal girl. People were not checking for me. And once I went to college, it was a huge culture shock when it came to romantic relationships, because everyone there is a freaking hornball. Anything that walks, especially if you're a freshman, like dudes see you and they just like jump on you like literal fresh meat. So me having low self-esteem, not understanding what love is, and seeking comfort and seeking to be seen by my peers, I fell for it. And there was so many different guys that gave me the time of day, and that I didn't have before, that I didn't have at home, or that I didn't have before in high school or grade school. So it was something different. It made me feel quote unquote love. But now I have the maturity and understand that that wasn't love. It was lust, right? But when you're getting the type of attention that you feel like you've always wanted, you don't care if it's deemed as lust or anything like that, because you're finally getting what you've always wanted, right? So I finally, I was in a long-term relationship, and the old me would be like, okay, like the point of being in a relationship is to be married. But I was in a relationship with someone who didn't understand the importance of marriage, because he didn't come from an environment that I came from. So I was even like, despite my morals, I still stayed in a relationship that really wasn't going to reach the end that I wanted it to be in. Once I found something that was really feeding into the lustful desires that I was having, I grasped onto that. I love the idea of that, and now once I was out of that relationship because of, other reasons, so I could better myself, it was just not a healthy environment. Once I got out of that, now every time I look at someone, even before I got in a relationship, I would see a guy, if he was any type of attractive, or if he said something intelligent and he seemed like a good guy, I would be like, I wonder what it would be like if we were together. I wonder what it would be like if I was his girl, if I was his woman, right? And now that I've gotten closer to God and I understand like the quote unquote better ways to go about preparing yourself to be a wife, I still have those thoughts. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about those lustful thoughts and how they're frustrating. Knowing that I'm not I'm in such a better place. I've wanted to be in a relationship for so long, for so many years. Once I finally got in a relationship in college, I realized it was not it's not what I thought it was going to be. Like, obviously the honeymoon phase was good, but there's a lot of work, a lot of commitment, a lot of trying to put two things together that shouldn't be together because they're not equally yoked. You don't want the same things as that person, but because of lust, because of sexual desires, you're sticking together and you're trying to make something that was never ordained by God work. And now that I'm out of that and I'm trying to stay on the narrow path and understand that, okay, it's important to save myself from my husband. It's important to not be distracted and not let these men smooth talk you, and also not lead these men into don't seduce these men, because let's be real, some of us are flirtatious. I'm not gonna lie. In college, I was very flirtatious because I was confident. I found a new idea of confidence. I was assured of myself. I didn't know how to use that confidence in an edifying way. I only knew how to use that confidence in a way that I thought that was something. I thought that mattered. I thought that was adulthood. That if I saw a man and I knew I looked good. I know dudes are easy. Unfortunately, men are easy. Women are easy too sometimes, but in the realm of like, it doesn't take much to get a man to do what you want to do. And obviously that's using your skills and the things that you have for evil or for negative things. Like, just because you know how to sweet talk a man does not mean you need to be getting all this money from him. Just because you know how to charm a man does not mean that you need to lure him and seduce him into, please his and your sexual desires. That's just a little bit of my backstory on me and relationships and me desiring, a partner, but not going about it the right way, because I was idolizing relationships. I was idolizing now I realize I'm idolizing marriage. But then I was idolizing the relationship because I low-key didn't really want to be married at that time. I was just having fun, quote unquote. I was, dating around. And there's a right way to go about it and a wrong way to go about it. And I definitely was going about it in the wrong way. I was just full of anger, bitterness, and I just wanted to get my quote unquote get back. Whatever that is. Y'all, young folks, y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay. Because of the lack of confidence in myself, and then once I gained confidence in myself, it was like a drug. It was like, oh, I'm finna go crazy with this. Like, people are actually giving me the time of day. Like, I ain't gonna lie, some dudes really filled my head up. I'm like, and women too, because sometimes if you get a compliment from a woman, like if there's a girl's girl and they be like, girl, you are so pretty, that can feed your ego. So my ego got so big, and I'm like, I'm literally unstoppable. I'm that girl. Now granted, I'm still that girl, but I don't need to be using it for evil, essentially. I don't need to be flaunting it in front of men and trying to, get them to come with me at night and all this other stuff. Like, that's a dead end. It's literally a dead end. And all of that, even though it sounded fun, or it may have felt quote unquote fun in that moment, it was fleeting. And it was really because I was trying to fill the void of love that I did not have, that I did not feel from even a little girl, that same abandonment issues, not feeling seen, not feeling heard, not experiencing that love from men in my life from a little girl just grew and grew and grew. So now I'm a grown woman. I'm out on my own, and it's these grown men older than me, and I'm just having my way with like everything. Like, I wasn't out here like that, but you get what I'm saying? There's that. I wasn't out here too bad, but I was out here bad enough where God literally had to snatch me on up and be like, girl, this is not the plan I have for you. And the one true understanding of what love even is, I encourage you to read your Bibles and open it up. And if you don't, like, if you feel like reading your Bible is too much for right now, for in this moment, I encourage you to pray to God and be like, Lord, I don't know what love is. I'm confused. I'm conflicted because of different things in my life that has happened. Please show me. Please open my eyes. Give me knowledge and understanding of what love is. He's going to tell you whatever he needs to tell you. And then he's eventually going to give you the advice, give you the wisdom that you should open up your word and get to know who God is, get to know who Jesus is, and how his love surpasses our understanding. But it checks yourself, and it makes you realize that I really haven't even been loving myself or others the way that God has loved me. Once I've gotten closer to God and understood that everything I was doing stuff wrong. I was seeking for a man's attention for the wrong reasons. Yes, I would say, oh yeah, obviously I know I want to get married. I want to come before God. But what's the point of coming before God if I'm over here, fornicating, or I'm doing stuff that, like, I'm not treating my body and I'm not respecting myself. I'm not respecting God's will in the right way. So what's the point of even coming to God and getting married if I'm already acting as a wife? If I'm already playing house, and getting my feelings hurt while doing it, because that's not the man that God has called for me. That was a counterfeit. That was a distraction to get me from being steadfast on whatever God has ordained for me. And that's something that can be really hard to come to truths with, because a lot of us, like man or woman or whoever, we love to be around people, no matter if you say you're introvert, you're extrovert, if you say that you don't like people, you hate people, whatever, there's someone that you would rather be with. Like, when you're really alone, eventually you have a cap. I wholeheartedly believe it. I don't care. Y'all may disagree, but that's just the way I see it, because maybe it's because I'm like a really big extrovert. Like, I have to be around people at all times. And I just can't see someone not also wanting or craving that feeling of companionship. Because this is something that I've always sought, I understood I was doing it the wrong way, but now that I'm getting closer to God, I'm like, okay, there's a right way. Go the marriage route, save yourself, prepare yourself, read Proverbs and understand what a Proverbs 31 woman is. Prepare yourself to be a good wife, to be a good person, to be a good servant of the Lord, and then, everything else shall follow. Here's the thing that I feel like I started to struggle with, right? Withholding myself from, I'm being strict on my abstinence journey, celibacy journey, whichever one is the right word today, because the interwebs, y'all have a different meaning than the textbook meaning. So whichever one, saving myself from marriage, whatever. As I'm on that journey, I may go to the gym, I may be in the grocery store, I may see someone on social media. They can say one little thing of, yeah, I'm a man of God and I do this and that, or I'll see them, they're active in the church and they'll do this and that, or they'll say something and it sounds so good. It's like a ding. And I'm like, Lord, is this him? Like, is my husband here? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I do get obsessive with those thoughts. And I'm getting better. It takes a minute now, but I'm getting better of like, okay, casting those thoughts down, because either way they're distracting. Because if that man is for me, he's going to come and find me. If that man is for me, then he knows where I'm going to be at. Or he knows like he's going to be checking for me before I even checked for him. You feel what I'm saying? Because that has gotten me in so much trouble of trying to go search for a man, or trying to go make this man, not make him like me, but like make a situation work, because it was not meant to be. And I also keep praying that God helps my husband soften his heart, soften his pride. And I pray that as much as I'm seeking God, that my husband is seeking him even more, because I pray for a leader in the household. I pray for something that I may not have ever seen in my own household, or something that I don't necessarily have any real life examples of, but there are things that I know that I deserve. And that's the hardest thing to come to terms with, because especially as a Black woman, a lot of us, a lot of examples that we see in the Black household are not the healthiest. And that's okay, because each generation has their own things that they battle with. But as someone who is trying to want different, to seek different, to be different, it's really hard. And, the enemy be sending me them counterfeits, and I'll be like, is this the enemy or is this God? Like, who's sending this man? And it's frustrating, because I really do desire to have a husband, but I have to constantly check myself. This is something that I battle, is, do I want this man because he looks good and what he's saying sounds good? He's saying he's a man of God. He may even be doing action and serving in the church and doing whatever, but that doesn't mean he's my man of God. You feel what I'm saying? And it's hard, because there's a lot of people, especially on TikTok and everything, saying like, not everyone is going to be married. That's okay. I'm going to be married. Like, same thing is like, oh, everyone wants to have a podcast, or everyone wants to do this and that. Okay, well, I'm going to do it, because nothing is going to be oversaturated over here. God didn't give me these strong desires for no reason. But the important part is to balance it. Don't put it before God. If I'm having more thoughts about my future husband than I'm having about thoughts of my relationship with God, that's a problem. There's something you need to dial back. There's something that you need to shift in your everyday life. Him, or even people from my past, that's the biggest thing. The issue that I have is that, like, people can change. I know that I've changed a lot, and people that I've used to talk to or that I used to date, I would always be like, okay, Lord, because I'll pray for them, because I always, want the best for people regardless. I'm not necessarily praying that they will be my husband, but I'll pray, like, as I'm praying for them and their well-being, when I'm done praying, I'll be like, I wonder if that's my husband. Like, and it's so sick. Okay, it's actually really annoying, really frustrating, because I get so mad at myself every time I have those thoughts, because I just be like, girl, literally shut up. Like, literally stop those thoughts, please, because it's not healthy. Like, I don't want to be walking around this earth head on swivel, like, so really fearful of missing when my husband is going to come and find me, when he going to come and get me. There's something that the Lord put on my mind. I was listening to a song. He had said, stop trying to wait for some man to save you when the man already did. And I was listening to this song. I was like, wow. The song was called, let me find it real quick. Cause I love music. So let me put y'all on for a hot second. It's not about like relationships or nothing like that, but called Savior by St. James. But this is what, for the people watching on YouTube, this is what it looks like. Savior by St. James. Y'all should go check it out. But basically, I was in the gym and I was thinking about this podcast that I wanted to talk about, because this is something that I literally struggle with, not even just this week, but all the time. And I really that's the biggest thing that my daily prayer is about, or that my daily conversation with God is about. Is like, Lord, please get this off of my mind. Like, get that dude off of my mind, because they're clouding what's going on. And when I was at the gym, I was working out, and that sentence came to my mind. Stop expecting some man to save you when the man already did. Zhan quotes, okay? Quote me, bro. Or it's really God. It's what he said to me. Okay. And the man, obviously, if you can't understand, the man refers to Jesus, refers to God. And I was like, that's cold, because that is a common thing within the society of women, that it's always a conversation about some man saving us, some man paying our bills, some man, taking care of this and that, fixing this household, doing this, putting furniture together. Not even just that, but having someone we can be safe in. All of those things are good qualities. Yes, I would appreciate those things if my future husband had those, but we can't focus on that. That can't be the main thing that we're worried about when it comes to our future husbands. That can't be the main thing that we're worried about in future relationships. We're so focused on what a man is doing and what we want him to do versus what we need to be preparing ourselves for. And this is, this kind of gets me into the conversation of the Proverbs 31 woman, because we're so focused on what we want in a man and how we want him to be, that if you look in Proverbs 31, there's a lot, not even just Proverbs 31, in the whole book of Proverbs. That's another thing. We're not focusing on also what we can contribute and what we're supposed to be doing to make sure that we're being good wives. You know what I'm saying? And that is something that I also had to remember, like, okay, in this time that I'm getting I'm getting better for myself. I'm learning how to love myself more. I'm learning how to appreciate and receive the love of God, and knowing how to be a better servant for him. In that process, I am becoming a better person to be a wife. But that can't be my main focus, because there's so many things that God needs to fix in me. There's so many things that God needs to work on for me to even be prepared to handle the house, for me to be a businesswoman, for me to be a mother, all things that I desire to do. But God just needs to continue to help me. The next thing I want to talk about is the Proverbs 31 woman. This thing has the world in a chokehold. It has the Christian woman community in a chokehold. Now, let me say this before I continue, so there's no confusion in the chat with my believers and non-believers. Read your word. Understand fully, keyword fully, what a Proverbs 31 woman is, and don't idolize what a Proverbs 31 woman is. Okay, so to dissect that a little bit, I will be reading the whole, I believe it starts at verse, it's Proverbs 31. I believe it starts at verse 10. And we're going to read that whole thing so we can dissect exactly what it says about the Proverbs 31 woman. My biggest advice, though, is to read the whole book of Proverbs, because throughout the whole book, it talks about what it's like, what a woman should do. It actually talks a lot about to beware of the woman, the adulterous woman. And that is what a lot of us are. In order to prepare yourself to be a wife, you have to do some cleansing, some cleaning, some better understanding. And a lot of us, what I'm seeing on social media, a lot of us aren't doing that part. And it's not even just women who are idolizing the Proverbs 31 women. It's actually kind of the men that I'm talking to on this one. What I've been seeing on the interwebs is that a lot of people are, some men, some women, just people in general, are trying to make other Christians feel bad or trying to put women in check. Like, y'all need to be a Proverbs 31 woman. Y'all need to do yada, yada, yada. What we all need to do is cleanse ourselves, get better, be better human beings, be better servants of God, be better servants of each other, and then talk about how it's to be a good wife, a good husband. Because like me, this is where I fall in line. We're so worried about that companionship, that partnership, that marriage, that we're nowhere near where we're supposed to be in order to achieve that, in order to get that in a healthy way, in order to be equally yoked with the person that is ordained for us. As I've done my reading, as I've done my research in Proverbs, I've had a better understanding of what I should do as an individual. So that's why I felt so inclined to come on here and talk about the Proverbs 31 woman before I get into reading it, because usually I say go open up your Bibles, but this one we're going to read directly because it means a lot to me. The Proverbs 31 woman is the blueprint. All of Proverbs is the blueprint on not only how to be a good person, but also how to be a good woman, which leads to how to be a good wife. Okay, the book of Proverbs is not just for women, it's for everyone, because it's the book of wisdom, right? And if you notice, if you read the book of Proverbs, follow me now. The book of Proverbs, wisdom is also, personified as a woman. Okay. I feel like that's very important. As women, if you're a woman, or even if you're a man, it's important to remember that as you're reading the book of Proverbs. Now, I understand sometimes when we read the word, we don't have the prior knowledge, or we don't understand, what the context and how everything plays together when we read some of these chapters. Whoever the author is of Proverbs, they personify giving the action of wisdom as a human, as a woman, specifically a woman. It says, it'll say her, it'll say she, all this other stuff. So that's important to remember. It also talks a lot about how to be, wise in some situations, and how a man should be wise and not fall into the adulterous woman, not to fall into how women can be seductive. Not saying that men can't be seductive either. But men or women are different for a reason. And women have a tendency to be more, they understand how easy it is for a man to get off track. So that's why it states that specifically. But let me go into Proverbs 31 before I get further off track. Okay, so starting at verse 10 in the NLT version, it starts at verse 10. A wife of noble character. Who can find a virtuous and capable wife? She is more precious than rubies. Her husband can trust her, and she will greatly enrich his life. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She finds wool and flax and busily spins it. She is like a merchant's ship, bringing her food from afar. She gets up before dawn to prepare breakfast for her household and plan the day's work for her servant girls. Now we're going to stop briefly right there for a quick second, because it says she gets up before dawn to prepare breakfast for her household. A lot of people, a lot of men stick they pick and pluck certain things out of Proverbs 31 and want to tell some women, or women want to tell each other what a Proverbs 31 woman is. And my biggest advice is read it for yourself and get understanding for yourself. I'm a believer in talking about the whole truth. That's why I'm reading, not going to sit here and read all the Proverbs, but all of Proverbs 31, because yes, it talks about how women, cook and clean and do all these other things. But let's keep reading and see what else it talks about that a Proverbs 31 woman does. So yes, she gets up before dawn. So that should be one piece to the blueprint. Are we sleeping in all day? I know lately I've been sleeping in a lot. So that's something that I've been trying to change. I've been trying to get up earlier, not just because this says it, but also because the early bird gets the worm. You feel what I'm saying? Also because I'm trying to optimize each hour, each minute, each second of my day. Continuing to read, it says, she goes to inspect a field and buys it. With her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She is energetic and strong, a hard worker. Okay. A lot of times some people on social media are saying that There's always going to be controversy and backlash and back and forth and arguments and debates about what a stay-at-home mom is. A wife should not work. No, this is saying a Proverbs 31 woman is a hard worker. It is not even talking about how she just stays at home and cooks and cleans all day. She's a business person. First of all, it literally says she goes to inspect a field and buys it. With her earnings, she plants a vineyard. So she's going out and she's investing. That investment, she's making more profit. She's building a vineyard. She's letting more fruits, more things grow based off of the investment that her household is doing. Like, a lot of people want to talk about the Proverbs 31 woman, how you should be, at home. If you are privileged and this is what you want to do as a wife or even as a husband, whatever, you want to be a stay-at-home worker, or you just want to take home, if you just want to take care of the children, that is fine. But we have to stop weaponizing the word and making it seem like women nowadays are non-traditional. Women nowadays don't want to stay at home and cook and clean and all of the things, and comparing it to what the word says. But if you read all of Proverbs 31 right here in the Bible app, it tells you exactly the blueprint of the Proverbs 31 woman fully and not bits and pieces. Because some women, especially me, if a man came up to me and was just like, I just want you to stay home and take care of the kids, I have no problem taking care of the children, but I am going to also do something more productive because I am a hard worker. I'm always striving for the best. That's just me personally. And I feel like the things that I want, being a businesswoman, it falls right in line of the Proverbs 31 woman. She makes sure her dealings are profitable. Again, talking about the business side of things. Her lamp burns late into the night. This is also, this is speaking to terms of like, she's been up at dawn, but she's staying up late at night working hard on business stuff, not even just business stuff, but also the dealings of the household, because we all know being a parent is a full-time job. Not even a full-time job. It's just 25/8, because full-time you still get a break. So yes, she's constantly working, constantly doing stuff. And this is also a reminder to some, being at home or being this quote unquote traditional woman is not, is nothing, or is not bringing anything to the table, but she's clearly doing a lot. This based off of the Proverbs 31 woman right here. So I'm going to keep reading. Her hands are busy spinning thread, her fingers twisting fiber. She extends a helping hand to the poor and opens her arms to the needy. She's also a servant. This is off the thing, just to break it down for the people in the back. She's also a servant to the people around her. She's not just serving her household. She's not just helping out her business, but she's also helping those in need. I'm going to continue to read in verse 21. She has no fear of winter for her household, for everyone has warm clothes. She's prepared. Verse 22, she makes her own bedspread. She dresses in fine linen and purple gowns. Her husband is well known at the city gates. Let me pause right there. Her husband is well known at the city gates. This is referring to how her husband is also working. He's also doing something. This is him being known at the city gates is showing what he's bringing to the table. Okay, so he's also out working and he's doing his part while she's at home doing all the things that she's doing in the household. So that's important to think about, because a lot of people nowadays just think working a full-time job and being stagnant is bringing something to the table just because you're bringing money at the table. No, what connections do you have? How are you trying to elevate is what I'm talking about. What are you bringing into the table? Verse 24, she makes belted linen garments and sashes to sell to the merchants. Again, a businesswoman. 25, she is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. When she speaks, her words are wise, and she gives instructions with kindness. I highlighted that. That was very powerful. Anyway, she carefully watches everything in her household and suffers nothing from laziness. Her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her, uplifts her. He does not look down upon her. Verse 29, there are many virtuous and capable women in the world, but you surpass them all. Verse 30, two more verses left. Charm is deceptive and beauty does not last, but a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly pleased. Reward her for all she has done. Let her deeds publicly declare her praise. That is the end of the verses, and it's the last two verses tie everything together. The cherry, the foundation, not even the cherry on top, but the foundation of a Proverbs 31 woman is her fear, her respect for God. The point of the matter is that everyone, not even just women, but we all need to put the fear of God first, the fear of the Lord first, because if we don't do that, then everything is pointless. You're not going to be able to have a healthy relationship because you or your husband is putting God first, the Lord first. And that is the whole point of the matter, because he can quickly take everything away. A lot of us on these interwebs and everything is that we're not focusing on the actual meaning of the Proverbs 31 woman. Yes, this is the blueprint on how to be a good woman, how to be a good wife, but we're picking and choosing what we want to hear and what we don't want to hear. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be wise and to be a businesswoman, to wake up before dawn, to be working all day and night, to not be lazy. Those are things we obviously don't want to hear, because those are things that we all struggle with. I struggle with. I'm still trying to combat, because that's hard. It is. So even in that statement, it's hard to be a wife. It's hard to have so many things you have to take care of. You're taking care of yourself. You're taking care of your children. You're taking care of your husband. Essentially, you're taking care of your relationship with God above all of that, so everything can be safe. So that's frustrating. That's a lot. I know it's frustrating to face that truth, face that reality that some of us may be looking at the Proverbs 31 woman in a faulty light, or in a light that's not sincere. So again, I encourage all of you to do your own research. Maybe prove me wrong. Maybe you got something or heard something from the Lord that I didn't, and received something different from the whole book of Proverbs, even the Proverbs 31 woman. As someone who can't wait till I'm able to have a family of my own, to be able to call like this family mine, this is a verse. This is not even a verse. This is a chapter that I really, take heed to, because I want to do it right. Okay. Like, yes, I want a family so bad. I want my own children. I want, the whole 9 yards, but I don't want to go at it prematurely. And I don't want to be so eagerly to have something that I'm not focusing on the other blessings that God has in my life right now, or that I'm getting out of balance with God right now. It will come. Okay. And don't let someone speak fear into your life and have you worry that maybe you won't get married. Because I understand, like, when some people be on social media and say that not everyone is called, like, I've seen a lot, and it almost spoke fear into me, saying like, oh, not everyone is called to have a husband. Not everyone will be married. But again, the word also says, not saying that I don't even think the word says that everyone won't be called to marriage. They're just saying that so you don't focus on marriage. I'm saying, yes, don't focus on marriage, but also bring your desires to God. He knows what you need and he knows what you want. So if you keep respecting him and keep that, keep everything straight and keep everything in out of respect for God, then everything will fall in line. But once you start imagining, having these crazy thoughts like I do, or, delusional thoughts that like, oh, someone from my past can come back and be this totally different person, and that's could be my husband. That could be the situation. That could be the scenario. But I can't sit here and waste time. Like, is that going to be him, Lord? Like, is you finna show up and show out like that? A lot of these dudes that were in my life were not meant to be in my life to help support me and to help me get to the next levels in life. That's why I'm not around them. That's why I'm not around a lot of people, because a lot of the people I used to be around with, not just romantically, but platonically, were not part of that elevation. They're not part of that journey. Okay. Like, you just got to leave it in the past. It sucks to wait. That long suffering experience of like seeing everyone get engaged, having children, experiencing things that you may want, that you may desire, but not to be jealous, not to be envious, but understand that your time will be when your time is supposed to be. It may not be when you want it, but it's going to be when you're supposed to be, when you're ready for it. And yes, that feeling sucks. When I'm out and about, or when I meet someone new and they're intriguing me and I'm like, oh, I want to get to know them more, I have to give myself a balance. I have to give myself a check. Like, okay, I can get to know them more as a human being, fill them out. That does not mean it's going to be the love of my life. That does not mean we finna go get married in a couple months and start busting out babies. Like, that does not equate to that. It's just an irritating time because I want what I want when I want it, like a lot of people. And you just have to be patient and understand, okay, be happy in what God is withholding you from right now. Because when I wasn't in a relationship, I wanted one so bad. But once I got in one prematurely, not ready, when I was naive and green and not understanding all that it took and all that can happen in a toxic relationship, I didn't want to be in one no more. That's why I left. And for me to want to be married for so much, and I've seen so many married couples. I mean, I see my own parents, for example, and see how much hard work and all the turmoil that can happen, in different types of relationships. So I know that if I wait and I focus on myself, I know I would be a better person, not just for me, myself, and the Lord, but for my children and my future husband. And so that's the goal, is healthy. It's not going to be perfect. I know no marriage is going to be perfect. No relationship is going to be perfect, but it's going to be healthy. And that's the bare minimum that I can expect from any type of relationship. And I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to get y'all to understand with idolizing relationships, marriage, or even the Proverbs 31 woman, that you have to be healthy in order to want a healthy relationship from someone else. You have to know how to give healthy in order to receive healthy. And I've been in a lot of situations where, yes, I may have been healthier than my counterparts, but that does not mean that I was healthy. Just because I had a little more emotional maturity than them does not make me any better, essentially, because I had a cap of what I could give them, of what I could, bring to the relationship. And in the end, I gave them all of me instead of giving all of myself to God. And that put me in a lot of messed up situations. So that's why I wanted to come on here and talk about this today, because I've been seeing a lot of people get engaged, and I love that. And I would be lying if I said, oh, God, when is it my time? Like, when am I going to have that cute little love story, that connection with someone? Because I am a hopeful romantic, and I do love the idea of love, of Black love, and of having that sense of, bond with a person for the rest of your life. Those are things that I will have. And right now I have to be okay with not worrying about anything else. When I first came back home, my pastor spoke a word over me, and he said, no, it was actually like a couple months before I officially moved back home, but he spoke a word over me and said, God is saying, don't worry about relationships. Don't worry about no relationship except for like me and you. It's your time to get back with me and figure this stuff out, figure your life out. I'm paraphrasing, but I know for a fact I remember it like it was yesterday that he said, don't worry about no relationships. And I just started bawling, crying, because I was getting out of a toxic relationship that I left, but I was still missing that sense of partnership. And then trying to talk to all these different guys, trying to get that, almost catch that high, essentially, of being in a relationship and having someone to comfort me, when God was like, bro, literally come to me and I got you. You're trying to find comfort and love in all these other people, and I'm right here. So now that you're finally in my house, in the church, let me help you out for a second. So I'm like, okay, cool. Now that I'm healthier, now that I'm happier and have experienced, joy, now I feel like, okay, Lord, like, I feel like I'm low-key kind of ready. Where the hubby at? But during this time and like some of the spiritual warfare that I'm going through, because I'm getting closer to God, it's like, no, shorty, I didn't tell you how long you needed to not worry about a relationship, but best believe I still got some work I need to do on you, because you're still focusing on the idea of being married, and you don't even know who I have for you. You don't know what I have for you. So you need to get your focus right. You need to get into that special place with me so you know how to handle some heavy stuff, some strong stuff that's going to come when you are married, when you do have children, because both of those things are huge responsibilities. So again, even though I want, some man to come sweep me off my feet, and we have this fairy tale wedding, and he's able to understand me, I'm able to understand him, we have similar interests, we have similar desires and stuff, and all this other stuff, but I'm idolizing it. Yes, I want all those things, but if I'm letting those thoughts of marriage, of a relationship, consume over my relationship with God, and that's pointless at that rate, because it's like, I didn't come to God so I can have a relationship. That's the thing I'm trying to get at. Don't go to God so you can have a relationship, so you can get married. Go to God for your relationship with him. And yes, those things will follow. And I feel like that's why people are kind of weaponizing the Proverbs 31 woman. And, you know, they talk about that a lot on social media when it comes to trying to give advice about marriage and relationships and stuff like that, because it's in the word. Yes, the Proverbs 31 is a blueprint of how the wife should be, but you can't sit there and only focus on that part, because now you're putting that above everything else, and you're missing out on the other lessons and other teachings in Proverbs, and you're missing out on what God truly wants for you in this moment. And it may not be marriage in this moment. It may be growing that business. It may be getting more financially stable. It may be reducing those anger issues and bitterness. It may be giving you more patience. It may not be worrying about what dress you're going to wear to some date. Like, you know what I'm saying? It may not be worrying about which man is going to be your husband, because a lot of us need a lot more work in order to be able to be a safe haven for our families, for the families that we want. A lot of the examples of what a man should be in the household has been very cold, very secluded, doesn't talk much. And I rebuke that over my household. I rebuke that for my family. My husband is going to be able to articulate his feelings. And if I desire that for him, I'm going to need to be able to do that. I want my husband to be emotionally stable. And in order for me to want that for him, I have to be that. A lot of times on vice versa, you know, on both ends of the stick, we desire something for our future spouses, our future relationships to be one thing that we're not. Okay. And I feel like that's the another key point that the Proverbs 31 chapter is talking about, because it's showing you what a wife should be, what a mother should be. And it's also showing us that a lot of us don't fit those requirements. That's just the way I see it, y'all. Today was a fun episode. I really enjoyed talking about something that was near and dear to my heart and that I may even struggle with. So thank you for tuning in and listening tonight. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell to be notified to stay tuned for my weekly episodes. Make sure you get a good night's rest, get under a stack of those blankets, and stay as warm as possible, because that flu and that cold is going around. And like always, I love you. More importantly, God loves you. And I'll see y'all next week on Bedtime Talks with Zhan.